Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This time it's on how to make an old car look even older. I started off with this saw thing just as a bit of a muck around because I was going to break this one apart anyway. But yeah, please don't try it at home. As you can see here, we start by drilling the posts once more. Seems to be the beginning of all restoration, customization type videos. This one's more customization, of course. And just drill those pins out. So then we just pull the car apart. Need a little bit of help from a screwdriver here, but didn't come apart too bad. I'm making it look more difficult than what it actually is. As you can see, it comes apart in about 3 or 4 sections. One of those sections we're just not going to use again, the one that's holding in the wheels. But, there you can see the main body. That's the die-cast part of it. We've got some gold. It is not real. And then we have the just the chassis of the car itself, which is all plastic. So I just test fitted all the parts back together, make sure it's all going to go back together nice and easy. Now for the fun bit, we'll do a bit of paint stripping, I think. The old gel paint stripper, which I find works very well with these little models. I wasn't being too particular to get it all the paint off because I didn't really have to. In fact, I probably could have left some of this paint on altogether. Remove the paint off the seats, just a little bit off the bodywork. And with some awesome camera work there, you can not see what I'm doing. But as you can see, I haven't tried to take all of the paint off, just dabbing it around the place. Leave a little bit on. You'll see at the end of this it's actually quite effective. There we go, we'll leave that, let it strip. We can see there it's already taken the paint off the seat. No dramas at all. And we'll just leave that to do its work now. Just using a little alligator clip here that I've fixed onto the end of a piece of clothes hanger. Works fine just as a little holder while I'm stripping this. See, this paint stripper also removes chrome off of the plastic. Doesn't seem to damage the plastic, but it removes the chrome alright. And again, I'm not too fussed about whether I remove all the gold. Some of it can stay on there. So I'm just trying to make a car look old. Just put the final touches on there. Just again, not too fussed whether it all comes off or not. There's the base of the car, the chassis. See there, one of the mudguards got a bit dinged up when he hit the saw blade, but that's cool. So we want it to look a bit busted up and bent, this thing. This doesn't need any stripping, of course, because it's just black plastic. Here we are later. I've washed it in some warm water, got rid of all the paint stripper. As you can see, there's still a fair bit of stuff left on. That's all going to add to the effect that I do later. Again, another quick test fit. make sure everything looks alright. There you go, it's starting to look old already. There we go. Now I could have left it like that, but the fun bit's still to come. So now I've got the trusty old Dremel out, and I've put in a little bullnose burr, I think they call them, the burr. That's so we can start carving some dents into this car, just to give it a bit more of an aged effect, make it look a lot older than what it was. So we just plough in and away we go. Doesn't really matter where I plough it in there, just as long as it makes it look like there's a few dents in the old bonnet of the car. Don't want to get your fingernail or anything here, it does hurt, done it before. Yeah, just away you go, plough it in, see how it goes. I think you kind of get the idea there. Yep, dropsies. We go around the back of the car and start digging in around there as well. You can go as light or as hard as you like with this sort of thing, depends on how beaten up you want it to look. I don't know whether I've gone hard or not, it came out looking pretty beaten up, so I was happy with that. Just get into the sides a little bit. Wherever you think a dent should be, put a dent. Right on the corners there is always a good spot. It's normally the place that gets hit in the car. Just smoothing out a couple of the high spots here, making the dents look a little bit shallower, if you like. Just move back around onto the bonnet, give that a little bit more. I have seen a couple of guys on the internet actually plough holes or drill small holes through to make it look like the panel's actually rusted right through. I was going to do that here, but the casting was a bit thicker than what I imagined, so I'll just let it go. There we go, another test fit, back together. A few dings and dents from this little old car. You may remember from previous videos where I've used a bit of a sponge. This was this old kitchen sponge. To start with my favourite thing of dabbing paint on. Again, we've gone for the yellow ochre, the red ochre, bit of burnt umber, and some black. So if you're ever doing rust effects, it's probably all the colours you'll ever need. In fact, you probably don't even need the black. So here we go. We shall just a little bit of the red ochre out, and we'll just start. Remember one of the previous videos where I just said you just start dabbing? That's all you do here as well. So just dab it on. Mostly into the dents that you've carved into it, or where there's no paint, because that tends to be where it'll go rusty. Put it on a bit thick here and there, but just give it a bit of a wipe off with the sponge and then dab the paint again. Just dabbing the paint on gives it a little bit more of a texture, I suppose you'd call it. Again, anywhere where there was no blue paint, I just tried to put a bit of the red ochre. You see I'm just dabbing it off a bit where it got a bit heavy. Try not to wipe like I did just here, it just ruins the whole effect. So I re-dabbed it. So once I felt that I had enough of the red ochre on there, I decided to put the yellow ochre on. The yellow just brings out the rust a bit better. It's a slightly newer rust rather than an older rust colour. If you ever looked at anything that's gone rusty, anything that's like a newer oxidisation is a bit lighter. Again, just dab it on. You can see there where I thought it was getting a bit heavy, so I used the back of the sponge where there wasn't much paint, just to try and remove a little bit of it. You can see there it's starting to look a little bit rusty. Keep going around the car now and do the sides. I am going to be using a technique with salt, a bit of water later on after these coats dry a bit. There's quite a few people out there use the salt chipping technique. It is very effective. I've seen other guys use just glue or even hairspray. I find the salt gives you a much rougher texture with your rust. So there we go, that's kind of looking rusty now, still a bit shiny though because the paint's wet. And I'll move on to the next bit. They're never happy, there's always one little bit more. You should stop though once you think you've finished. If you keep going you may ruin it. So onto the chassis now, and again same technique. Just want to make that horrible black plastic look like rusty old metal. So as you can see here, a little bit later, the paint's actually started to dry. It's still looking rusty, which is good. It's what we want. Maybe a little bit too much rust on there. There's the base. Again, not covering up all the black. There might have been some left on the car. It doesn't all go rusty. And the gold bits have been rusted up as well. So another test fit just to see what it was like, and now the standard old table salt. what we do is we just get a bit of water on the paintbrush and we just dab it around where we want the salt to stick. So just put a little bit on here, a little bit on there. You find if the water doesn't take to the surface of the paint, you can actually add a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to it, just a drop or two, and that'll help it stick to the surface and spread a little bit better on the surface of the acrylic paints. So now we just, as you can see, I'll put a little bit more water on. I've already salted up the other side of this. But, there we go. We'll just put a bit of salt on it. The salt will stick. You can shake it off. Doesn't matter how rough it looks. It will just stay there. Basically, you just let it dry on. So we'll just do the other side of the car here. Just little bits. Bit of salt that was spilt. Crunch on there. I think you find that the finer the salt, the better the result will probably be for this type of customization. But this is the salt I had at the moment out in the shed, because everyone keeps salt in their shed, don't they? There you can see we'll just we'll let that dry and waiting for the next process. As you can see here, just shake it off, give it a bit of a tap to get rid of the loose salt, and then we just let it dry. I'm actually adding some of this, to me, a brilliant blue, which is pretty close to the original colour of the car anyway. And as you can see, I've just spray painted straight over the top of the salt. You'll see the effect that it gives in a minute. Everything's dry, and all you need now is to chip it off. I'm just using the end of a paintbrush there. Just chip away at it, and the salt comes away. Anywhere the paint got through, the salt sticks to the casting. The rest of it gets chipped away. It really does start to give a really nice layered rusted effect now. Yeah, just keep chipping away with the brush and wiping off with your finger and scraping with your fingernail. Doesn't really matter. You see the rust colour's actually showing through quite nicely underneath. Once we get rid of all of that, we're looking good. It's looking older now. It looks very rusty, like it's been sitting out in the yard for quite a while. Again, never happy, got to keep going at it. I have ruined a couple of things doing this and had to start the whole process again. But again, if you need to start again, out with the old paint stripper. I decided to paint the seats different colour. Seats don't generally go rusty. They do stay whatever colour seats stay. Just used a bit of black and a bit of burnt umber to give it a dirty black look to maybe a leather seat in a car this old. So we just mix a little bit together and slap it on. Could have gotten carried away and tried to do little tears in the seat and things like that, but this video was more about how to get a rust effect on the car than how to paint the upholstery. Again, just using standard acrylic paints. They don't take very long to dry. They go on pretty easy. Once you've stripped the enamel off the cars. The old water oil mix doesn't. Just a little bit of black and burnt umber around on the gold exposed parts of the car, make them look a bit dirty. Well, it's been sitting around for a fair while. But, you can get as carried away as you like, or not. You don't really need a lot of paint on it. It's one of those things that you kind of know when you've got enough on there. Once it looks dirty, stop. Just sticking a little bit of black down on the chassis. I don't believe all the paint would have come off of this car while it was sitting around in the yard. So they normally had little black painted chassis anyway. Grab some of my Tamiya weathering powders, just for the rust colour. It helps bring out the rust a little bit nicer, highlights it a little bit, the high spots. I don't use too much of this. It does look quite nice. You just put it on with basically a makeup applicator, and it's got a little soft brush on the other end. You can just brush away the excess. It also helps take a bit of the shine off the acrylic paints, so it does look a little bit rustier. Rust doesn't tend to shine very much. So now for the final assembly of this little old car, which started off its life as not so old, fairly pristine looking, but this is going to become some diorama fodder, I think. There we have it, all back together, looking old, rusty, wheels missing. I did notice there though that I hadn't painted the backs of the seats, but if I mistake that, let's get some paint into it. So there we have just the final touches to some of the paintwork. Just get a bit of burnt umber in there, make it a little bit dirty and muddy. Give it a bit more age. Just get a little bit more mud under the guards there. That's where I assume it'd collect. And there we go. One little old... As you can see down there in the corner, it's gone from a little blue car with full paint to a rusty old jalopy. Just chuck the old wheels on there. Did a little bit of rust on them as well to make it look old. And there we have it, the final product. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I really enjoy doing these old rusty cars, just as much as I like restoring some of the older cars. And we'll see you in the next video. And if you have enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe, tell your friends, spread the word. See you later on.